Noah and the animals got safely into the ark. A 300-degree below zero ice meteor came flying toward the earth and broke up in space. As it was breaking up, some of the fragments got caught and became the rings around the planets. They made the craters on the moon, the craters on some of the planets, and what was left over came down and splattered on top of the North and South Pole.
Well, I was sitting at home flipping through the channels, and I came to channel 30, which is WVCY here in the area, and I saw this guy, and he was talking about creationism and how the earth is 6,000 years old, and kept talking about the flood, and I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, we've seen him give presentations. Their presentations are pretty much similar to all of the DVDs that he has that are available, through his website and various other places. There's a pretty similar thread going through all of them. He gives a lot of the same evidences because they're the most important ones.
The first time I saw him was in Waukesha, and I went with my friend Steve, and we just sort of sat there and chuckled, and eventually it wouldn't stay for the whole thing because we were hungry.
It isn't incredibly difficult to get a hold of Kent Hovind. His evangelism center, they try to find places to go out and give speeches.
When it came to light that we weren't able to get the ballroom or Wisconsin room, that provided another challenge. That's why we're in Bolton 150 with the event with only 500 seats rather than 800 to 1,000.
I made a song about him, and it's done in a style of music that I would never ever listen to. It's like a techno kind of thing. But I took snippets of some of the things that he says, and I set them to this techno song. And then there's actually the chorus of the song is not him. It's somebody else saying, "Christians don't believe in gravity."
My name's Kent Hovind. Kent Hovind. I was a high school science teacher. Creation, evolution, and dinosaurs. Kent Hovind. This earth is not billions of years old. Kent Hovind. God made the world about 6,000 years ago. This earth is not billions of years old. God made the world about 6,000 years ago.
Christians don't believe in gravity. Christians don't believe in gravity. Christians don't believe in gravity.
Have you ever thought about it? I mean, really, what is the purpose to life? Why are we here? Where did we come from? For that matter, where are we going to go when this life is over? In this seminar, it talks about the age of the earth. Dr. Hovind gives solid evidence to show that this earth is not billions of years old. In fact, the evidence points towards a literal 6-day creation, like told about in Genesis chapter 1. Hi, my name is Aaron, and we hope you enjoy this incredibly powerful seminar presented by Dr. Hovind. It's called The Age of the Earth.
All the matter in the universe was concentrated into one very dense, very hot region that may have been much smaller than a period on this page. What? Yes, boys and girls, you see, we all came from a dot, and the dot came from nothing. They call that science and put it in a science book? I think I'd call that a fairy tale and put it in the garbage.
How long has your fascination with him been going on now?
A couple of years. I spent some time. I was sort of between jobs, so that took up the majority of my time at that point in my life.
They say there are no absolutes. One professor I debated said there are no absolutes. I said, are you absolutely sure? Blew his little brain. Now, wait, how can I be sure of that?
I made T-shirts with his picture on it, with like his date of birth to the rapture.
It's on TV. It's on Carol Sagan's show, Cosmos, billions and billions of years ago. It's in the magazines. It's in National Geographic. Billions and billions of years ago.
I would have long email exchanges with friends about crazy things that I'd watch his DVDs at night. That's what I would do.
Here's a 4th grade textbook. Millions of years ago. Now, kids, listen. If anybody ever says millions of years ago, just say, excuse me, were you there? They'll say, well, no, of course I wasn't there. Then you can say, now, teacher, do you know the earth is millions of years old? I mean, is this really part of science? Is this something we can observe and study and test and demonstrate in the laboratory? Or is this just something people believe? They're going to say, well, everybody believes the earth is millions of years old. No, they don't. Most Americans think the earth is less than 10,000 years old and God made it.
It's not so much that I disagree with him as I don't see reason to agree with him. One of the things he states is that snake venom back in the Garden of Eden was more than likely a vitamin, where now we think of it to be harmful if a snake bites you. Perhaps in the Garden of Eden it was a supplemental thing. If a snake bit you, you'd say, "Oh, awesome! I've got my vitamin vitamin B17 for the day." It's certainly possible that that's true, but I don't see any reason to take that step and say it is true.
You're appreciating him from a very smug sort of standpoint.
Yeah.
So it's like...
we're mutual smugness between the two of us, even though I'm sure he's not all that aware of me.
But one guy figured out the whole thing and put it on the tire cover on his van. I saw that. I said, I have got to get a picture of this. This explains it all. He said, blaming guns for Columbine is like blaming spoons for Rosie O'Donnell being fat. It's not the spoon's fault, Rosie. Okay. Anyway.
One of my favorite things that Hovind talks about is how people lived prior to the flood for hundreds and hundreds of years, and the reason that they were able to do this is because the earth was surrounded by a canopy of ice or water, which therefore caused the air pressure to be greater inside the atmosphere. And it was like a big hyperbaric chamber, which made everyone heal more quickly and live to be hundreds of years old.
When you go to see him and he talks about this stuff, do you hold yourself together?
Why would I hold myself together? I'm there for entertainment. I will laugh.
How do the people around you respond when you're
nasty,
cracking up?
You get some nasty looks from people who see that you're, not there for the same reasons that they are.
What we're going to look at tonight are some of the limiting factors for the age of the earth. And I'm going to tell you why I believe the Bible dates are exactly scientifically, historically, mathematically correct. This earth was created about 6,000 years ago, not millions of years ago. There was a flood 4,400 years ago. Completely destroyed the world. Dropped everybody's property value to zero in that big flood.
My all-time absolute 100% favorite would have to be that when Marco Polo went to China, he came back, he told people that the Emperor of China was raising dragons to pull his chariots. And Hovind believes wholeheartedly that those were dinosaurs being raised in China at the time of Marco Polo.
People say evolution is not a bad philosophy. But at the same time, it was Hitler's religion during the Third Reich in Germany. Hi, my name is Eric. In this next seminar, Dr. Hovind exposes some of the terrible things that have been done in the name of evolution. Because dictators throughout time have used the evolutionary ideas to support their brutal tactics.
Right, it's an honor to be here in Wisconsin. My roots go back to Wisconsin. My mom and dad both raised over in La Crosse, Wisconsin. My name's Kent Hovind. I was a high school science teacher for 15 years. And now for the last 16 years, I've been doing seminars all over the world on creation, evolution, and dinosaurs. I believe evolution is a dangerous theory for seven reasons. It's going to take us several hours to cover all this. It is based on nothing but lies. And Satan is the father of lies, okay? The evolution theory removes all morality and all way to discover how to have morality. It's the foundation for humanism, racism, Nazism, communism, and the New World Order, coming soon to a city near you. We'll get into all that as we go along here. In the last couple of sessions, we talked about some of the lies in the textbooks that are used to support the evolution theory. Everything that's ever been used as evidence for the theory has been proven wrong. Get it out of the textbooks. It's a no-brainer. Don't lie to the kids, period.
Just to add in, you asked earlier why we brought in Kent Hovind specifically, and I don't think it was exactly covered, but he's kind of like the face. I mean, it makes sense because that's what he does. He gives 700 presentations a year, you know, refuting evolution. His basic study is the study of refuting evolution.
That's why it's not science, because he takes that and he goes out and looks for things to support it, as opposed to finding information and then coming to a conclusion from those observations.
One of his goals of his ministry is to go out and have these debates all the time because it's such a fundamental thing to do.
I go around and do a lot of debates at universities. I've had 87 now, debates at universities. Had 3 in the last 2 weeks. Can't find any more opponents, though. So if you believe in evolution, you want to debate on the topic, call me. I'll be glad to come do it, okay?
He's crazy about getting people to debate him. He wants to debate professors. And I know that a lot of people have declined that invitation on the basis that if you debate him in like an academic setting, you're lending some credence to what he's saying. And I don't think that's helpful in any way.
You see, if you want to get somebody to believe a lie, you have to mix it in with some truth. That's a technique they've used for years to kill rats. They mix two things together that really don't belong together. They have mixed together in that box good food and rat poison. Actually, a lot of folks don't realize, but rat poison is 99.995% good food.
We don't agree with everything he says, but I certainly feel that he says enough that's very true and verifiable that it's certainly worth bringing him in. His career originally was a high school science teacher. Biology, physics, geology, everything that they had in those science high schools, he had been teaching at some point.
He claims to be a doctor of education, maybe. I'm not entirely certain what it is, but what I do know is that he received his doctoral degree from something called Patriot University. From what I understand, I've seen a picture of it, and it's just this house. It's like a single-story
Like
house.
a ranch?
I wouldn't call it really a ranch. It's too boxy to be a ranch. It's like a boxy little house. But yeah, it doesn't look like it has a lot of room for classrooms or anything. Apparently it's a correspondence school, but I would think that even that would have some kind of office, not just some guy's house.
In 1989, after 15 years of teaching high school science, Dr. Kent Hovind began the Ministry of Creation Science Evangelism in Pensacola, Florida. In order to combat the evolution philosophy that is destroying the faith of millions every year, Creation Science offers 4 great tools to help strengthen the faith of believers and win the lost to Christ. The first tool available to you is the live seminars conducted by Dr. Hovind and his son Eric.
Notice what the textbook says. Boys and girls, 30 million years ago. It means a fairy tale is coming next. 30 million years ago, these primates evolved. There's that word again, evolved. Then it says, They are ancestral to both humans and modern apes. Ancestors to humans. Grandpa? What big eyes you have, Grandpa.
His fast-paced illustrated seminars cover such diverse topics as why the Earth cannot be billions of years old, why Adam lived to be 930, evidence that dinosaurs have always lived with man, lies in public school textbooks, where the races came from, and how evolution influenced the rise of communism, Nazism, and the New World Order. The second tool Creation Science offers is their powerful, life-changing video series. Over the last 12 years, well over 1 million videotapes of Dr. Hovind's seminars have circled the globe and reaped a harvest of souls for the kingdom of Christ, as well as helped restore the faith of many thousands confused by the evolution propaganda they have been subjected to. These videos are available in English, French, Russian, Spanish, Japanese, and sign language. There are videos of live debates and many other topics as well. The third tool we make available is our website. DrDino.com has lots of information from charts and graphs to articles on a host of topics. Thousands visit our site regularly to gain insight into God's creation. Our fourth tool is the new and exciting Dinosaur Adventureland. Many thousands have come from across America to visit our museum, science center, and theme park where God gets the glory for science. Our unusual swings, rides, and activities have a science lesson as well as a spiritual lesson for everyone from 4 to 94.
Have you met many other people like yourself who find a sort of ironic postmodern value to?
Oh, one or two. I have one of my friends in particular. His name's not Steve, but I call him Steve, and he shares my enthusiasm for Hovind. He, in fact, took those pictures I gave to you. The second time I saw him up in Sheboygan was really great. It was like a nice summer day, and we got there, and he's outside talking to a bunch of people. I was ecstatic. I was really excited. And then he said, "Well, now we're going to launch paper airplanes." It's very important for him to establish the idea that I know about science, therefore I'm credible. And anyway, one of the ways in which he does that is he launches these paper airplanes, in which he puts a paper clip, and then he flings them up, and that's science. So this is actually me assisting in the launch of a paper airplane, and I think my favorite part about this photo is if you note here on Hovind, the sense of just purpose, and just looking off into the horizon, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just unbelievably. This is one of my favorite pictures I have of him. I have quite a few.
Partly because evolution is so widespread in America, there really isn't one single person that comes out as the expert on debating creationists. Because most of the evolutionists, and we've seen this in a lot of the evolutionists who teach here, most of them think, well, it's a pretty solid theory, we don't have any reason to argue it.
Well, thank you for joining us. My name is Kent Hovind. I taught high school science for 15 years, and now for the last 14 years I've been an evangelist doing seminars on creation, evolution, and dinosaurs. And I don't like anybody sneaking up on me, so I'm going to tell you what I believe so you know what my seminar is going to be about here. I believe the Bible is the infallible, inspired, inerrant Word of the living God. I believe it from cover to cover. And in case you don't know, the Bible is your basic instructions before leaving Earth. You may want to read the book because you're going to be gone for a long time. When I started this ministry 14 years ago, I said, Lord, I'm not going to copyright my stuff. I'm not going to charge for seminars. And I'm not going to send out a letter every month begging for money. And if you don't supply, I'm going to quit. Plain and simple. There are three things I try to accomplish in my seminar. Number one, I want to strengthen your faith in the Word of God. Number two, if you're not saved, I'm going to try to get you converted today. Number three, if you're saved and you're not doing much for the Lord, then I'm going to try to make you uncomfortable.
I think it's just Because he's symptomatic of the overall attack on intellectualism in this country, and how the manner in which he presents his case is so circular and nonsensical. I mean, it has its own kind of internal logic that's, I mean, that's why he's so excited about debating people, because you can't really refute what he says, because he's always got this fallback position. And I just find it really fascinating and hilarious that...
Well, what's one of his fallbacks? I guess I don't understand.
The Bible.
Now, we have in our ministry Dinosaur Adventureland. If you ever get to Pensacola, you have to stop and see the most unusual place on planet Earth. I got sick and tired of all the museums and science centers teaching evolution, so I said, let's just do one that teaches creation. So we have a science center, hands-on activities, a museum, and an activity theme park that'll blow your mind. Everything has science lessons and spiritual lessons. We had 10,000 visitors our second year open, shooting for a whole lot more this year.
Since the Earth is 6,000 years old, the way he explains dinosaur fossils is that we coexisted with dinosaurs for a time and subsequently killed them off.
But, so you're not interested in starting a conflict with him or trying to approach him with your beliefs?
No, I don't think that's beneficial in any way.
You think he's more beneficial just to laugh at?
Yeah.
Well, it is an honor to be here tonight. My name's Kent Hovind. I taught high school science for 15 years, and now for almost 17 years I've been an evangelist doing seminars on creation, evolution, and dinosaurs. And I defend the position that the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate. The Earth is about 6,000 years old. Dinosaurs lived with man all through history. And the evolution theory being taught in our schools in violation of the First Amendment is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history of planet Earth. Based on some of the anti-Hovind stuff I was reading that the people have been saying, you would think I was a monster with two heads, and I think I'm a fairly normal human being. I eat food like normal people. There's not some kind of wild-eyed fanatic. I look at things logically and rationally if I can. I taught science and math for 15 years in high school. All three of my kids love the Lord, and they and their spouses all work in our ministry, and all want to be near Dad for the rest of their life. So we'll see if you can do that with your family. They say there's a stealth attack on evolution. No, it's attack on lies. And the news media always try to combine evolution as if it is part of science. No. Beer is often sold at football games. Beer has nothing whatsoever to do with football. And beer does not become athletic by association. Students are being lied to about the Big Bang. It didn't happen. They're being lied to about the age of the Earth. It is not billions of years old. They're being lied to about the caveman. There's never been a caveman. They're being lied to about the dinosaurs. They did not live millions of years ago. They were big lizards that lived with Adam and Eve. All through history, people called them dragons, and they killed most of them. Now, two people can look at Grand Canyon. One of them believes in evolution. He looks at the canyon and says, wow, look what the Colorado River did for millions and millions of years. The Bible-believing Christian stands there, looks at the canyon, and says, wow, look what the flood did in about 30 minutes. Grand Canyon is a washed-out spillway. And any earth science teacher that tells you it took millions of years to form the Grand Canyon needs to study the data or get their head examined. That is not logical, okay?
When I look at the pictures of you and him, it seems like you sort of have a personal fascination with him as a character. It seems like you're drawn to something about him other than the content of what he says.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. And to repeat the question, yeah, there is something about his character. I think he'd make a great protagonist in a film.
He said, preacher, if you can prove one verse out of the Bible scientifically, I'll believe it. The preacher said, well, okay. He grabbed the atheist around the neck, grabbed his nose, and began twisting his nose. Pretty soon, of course, the blood is pouring down his face, and the atheist said, what on earth are you doing? He said, I'm proving the Bible. It says the wringing of the nose bringeth forth blood. The shape of these continents is an absolute pure coincidence. The unicorn had one horn because it says the singular horn of the unicorn. They don't want to admit God created the world because that would mean he owns it and he makes the rules. And they don't want to admit there was a flood because that means he has the authority to judge his creation. I believe the unicorn is probably more like a one-horned dinosaur. I doubt it's a horse with a horn, but we've all heard that story all our life, so we're not going to get that out of our system, okay? There's no scientific reason to reject the Bible, and there's no scientific reason to accept evolution. You see dinosaurs on the ark? They're kind of big, aren't they? Well, the big ones were big, but the little ones were little. Hey, one of these days, an angel is going to come down with the Lord, and they're going to come to the clouds and blow a trumpet, doo-doo-doo, and the Southern Baptists rise first. You know, the dead in Christ go first. And then the rest of us are going to take off for heaven. And I can't prove this, but I think I figured out why God made Adam first. I think God made Adam first because he didn't want any advice on how to do it. That's right. And tea is worse. There was an Indian once that drank 4 gallons of iced tea. That night, he drowned in his teepee. Serious stuff. Don't drink that.
I think he's an entertainer in a lot of ways. And not in the way, I mean, I don't think he's intending to entertain people like me. But I think that he's trying to make his presentation not dry and something that people will listen to and not fall asleep. It's very slick. He's very well rehearsed. And I think he's terribly effective at what he does.
It seems like he tries to use science itself to disprove science.
Yeah. The flip side of that is also that he takes the Bible and he uses it to prove the Bible. You know, so he's got these two separate spheres, and they're both self-contained, and there's never really any intersection between the two of them. Part of me wants to say yes, because he just seems so sincere, you know, he's so sure of it. But then another part of me thinks, well, he's in this for financial gain, and it's just a sham, and it's hard to reconcile those two positions. I mean, I guess if you forced me to take a position, I would say I doubt it. I doubt that Hovind believes what he's selling.
I've never heard him say more than 2 sentences on it at the same time, but he'll get into what critics have called tax evasion. What he was doing is kind of not the normal way to pay your taxes, and he got away with it because he was actually following the letters of the IRS code. They allow for certain things, and he was taking advantage of it.
He's a really good lawyer.
Yeah. Well, and like I said,
Lawyers get paid to
he's one of those personalities where, whether it's science or not, he will go through and find exact reasons to have his belief.
Thank you for joining us. It's an honor to be here at Tennessee Temple University. All 3 of my kids went to school here. I almost went to school here, was registered and enrolled, and ended up going to Midwestern instead, Midwestern Baptist College, but it's good to be here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm going to share with you this morning what we call the Hovind theory. The world probably had a canopy of ice or water above the atmosphere. We cover that on video 2. Now, there are some creationists, including Walt Brown, who disagree. They say there was no canopy. And I think the arguments they use can be easily answered, and I'll be glad to discuss that if you'd like more. Noah and the animals got safely into the ark. A 300-degree below zero ice meteor came flying toward the earth and broke up in space. As it was breaking up, some of the fragments got caught and became the rings around the planets. They made the craters on the moon, the craters on some of the planets, and what was left over came down and splattered on top of the North and South Pole. The super cold snow fell on the poles mostly, burying the mammoths standing up. The dump of ice on the North and South Pole cracked the crust of the earth, releasing the fountains of the deep. The spreading ice caused the ice age effects, the glacier effects that we see. It buried the mammoths, made the earth wobble around for a few thousand years. And it made the canopy collapse that used to protect the earth and opened up the fountains of the deep. During the first few months of the flood, the dead animals would settle out and dead plants and get buried. They would become coal if they're plants and oil if they're animals.
I think there's a definite thread of anti-intellectualism in this country. And I think that Hovind is, and it's hard to say whether he's symptomatic or part of the cause. Probably both. I think that the people who believe in this sort of thing, I think he's doing a disservice to the society as a whole. I think he's definitely doing a disservice to people who take their kids out of school and start teaching them what he believes. And unfortunately, all he provides me is entertainment value.
There are some opinions that Kent Hovind has that puts him out on the fringe too, and there are certainly some people who don't like Hovind. There are some websites you can find where they will say Hovind is crazy because of these things, and that means that his other opinions on biblical accuracy are also crazy.
Yes, I do think that what Hovind does could be considered a form of brainwashing.
It has been scientifically shown that snake venom is similar in protein structure to certain vitamins.
I don't know if it's lack of imagination. I don't know if the word of God needs to be literally true for them. But I really can't speak to why, because it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that I guess it's possible that that's exactly why they need it. Because if you look at the story of the Bible, it doesn't make any rational sense. Jesus was born, lived on earth, died, rose into heaven. It doesn't make any rational sense. It requires a leap of faith to believe in something like that. And I guess their version or Hovind's version of that is so extreme that you need to take a leap of faith on the entire story, the whole package. And if you don't believe the whole package, then you've got nothing.
Man killed off most of the dinosaurs. Back in those days, they called them dragons. But a few are probably still alive today. Somebody is clearly wrong. Better get some Vaseline then, because they're going to need it.
Christians don't believe in gravity. Christians don't believe in gravity. Christians don't believe in gravity.
Here's the Hovind theory. There was a canopy of water above the Earth. This canopy of water would compress the air to a greater density. Healing would be much faster under compressed air. It may have been actually a canopy of ice suspended by the magnetic field. We don't know. It's all gone. It all fell down at the time of the flood. Then an ice meteor came flying through space. Dumb on purpose. Dumb on purpose. Dumb on purpose. Scoffers.
Christians don't believe in gravity.
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 Scoffers.